And what's up, folks? We're back for episode 6 here of Power Book 2 Ghost. I know a lot of you all was pissed about the 2-week break, but I will have to say that it is not Power's fault. It is Star's decision that happened. But nonetheless, we're finally back here. Happy New Year 2022. And we're back to our regular scheduled program here. Now, June Lucas, your usual host, and we're going to be covering tonight's episode for you. So, Lucas, let's just start it off kind of easy. What were some of the things you liked this episode and some of the things you didn't like?
I really liked Monet's outfits. They were dope.
Oh, I know where you're going with this one. I know where you're going what you don't like.
I don't know what's going on with Lorenzo's dress code, but they got this man dressing like the world's most obvious drug dealer. Like it's like insert drug dealer wear here. Yeah. But in all honesty, I love what I love the most about this episode is Monet's approach of like when you get that feeling like she's being replaced as someone who led this organization for years, and now you're treating her just like a wife on the side, and her still attempting to make moves to keep her independence.
Yeah,
like I really like that element that they're doing in this episode. Like that to me, that's a key central point of this episode. Along with, man, my man Tariq, he gonna get some cheeks no matter what at this point.
Damn right.
Bringing back the old thing, the joke that most people been waiting for, Joe. Like that.
Listen, Star's been dangling that clause in the contract, and it was like, do anybody else want it besides Sax? And Tariq was like, all right, I guess I'll step up. We need some sex this season, y'all. What's happening? It can't just be Nancy each and every week here. But yeah, my man Tariq is linking up with somebody one way or another, right?
Exactly. Like he just rolled out a whole conversation with Lauren, like, man, fuck you. And next scene, always waiting on you.
I can't wait to talk about that.
But those are like the key parts of this episode that really work well.
Yeah.
It's, again, this is a return episode. So, last episode was extremely explosive.
Yeah.
But this one is just to remind you exactly what's going on and actually to foreshadow the rest of the season. And from the foreshadowing we got here, this is about to be real interesting because, again, we're going to get into it because there's a lot of characters now that their true faces are showing. And one character in particular that you like so much.
Yeah.
Who, at this point, he can't even hide his contempt for Tariq anymore.
Yeah, definitely. I know exactly where you're going with that. So for me, really quickly, what I liked about it, and I thought you was about to say it, I like the duality between this episode and the last episode. We're seeing a lot of things flipped from episode 5 to episode 6. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you haven't been able to read between the lines, a lot of it had to deal with Monet and Kane. Kane in particular having a conversation with Lorenzo about, do you want to be my boss or do you want to be my son? Do you remember what happened last week with him and Monet? And they had a conversation. Do you want me to be your soldier or do you want me to be your son? So we're seeing a lot of that happen. And there's a few more I want to talk about. So I like the writing here. They are telling stories that not only are just providing events, but like you really got to pay attention because a lot of things you can easily overlook if you're not paying attention. And then the thing I didn't like here is the thing we talked a lot about last episode. How come no one is ever going to mention Brayden as a potential suspect? Not the judge, not either of the judges, shall I say.
Wait.
The defense. I mean, it was even Davis had it dead to rights. And I was like, go for it. Play the card. And maybe he read the room because the first judge wasn't going to probably go for it. But it still should have been said that while he might have been set up, let's start talking about the possibilities here.
I mean, the point they waited to the second judge to say, by the way, you found a badge in a room he shares with someone. That's all you needed to know right there.
Yeah.
I shared this room with someone. So you can't pinpoint any of this just on me.
Yeah.
That irritated me last episode. Here it was like, okay, so we're going through this trial and no one's gonna bring this up.
Right.
Like,
But
okay.
I will say that obviously the key word for Rashad Tate is influence. This is
If they keep
more
on,
and more.
okay.
But see, we talked about that so much in the first episode about what we thought and what we think influence is going to be, and how I kept saying like they got to build this up, because that not only is going to be which we both feel is going to be the most unique, probably the best of all of the shows, but they still got to sell it, and they are trying to sell it every single chance they can.
This is this whole season has been a backdoor pilot episode. If one more person in this season says, man, you know what? We just got to get on these streets. You know what we need? Influence.
and then right the Governor Tate's face every single time. I mean, it's icing on the cake. As soon as I'm trying to tell you, I bet you when they do their reads, as soon as they see the word, everybody just look at down the table and say, hey, Tate, nigga, you're up.
Like, nigga, we gonna keep on doing this over and over again in every episode. But the weird part is it works every time, because it puts you in situations where an influence on an outcome is needed. And I'm hoping for a lot of people, you kind of see the direction of the series and where this influence type of series can go to, because influence can mean so many different things. And in this season, it's meant at least 4 different things every time they said it.
That's right. That's right. And then while we thought we were going to get the big, battle between Tate and Sweetney for the first episode, as you said, it was just the introduction to the character. And this is just the pilot for what that series is going to really dive into. And I'm telling you, they're doing it right, because I'm becoming more and more invested. I'm so invested. I almost wish both of these shows were going at the same time,
because it's going to be a big break before you get the influence, because you get you get the All-Star show.
Yeah, of course.
Like, you get the All-Star show next, which we ain't gonna say that, but
folks, you know where we're gonna be at. But let's get into the episode now. And as you know, if this is the first time you're checking us out, definitely give us a like on this video, definitely subscribe, and keep up with us with all of our power content. Now we're going to kind of go through a lot of the different plot points of this episode and kind of give our reactions to it. So let's do it. So the opening episode was a party. Welcome home, Lorenzo. Back to business at that. And I gotta say, like, I felt like, because of how this was shot, kind of felt like I was at the party. So I was kind of like reading the room, and all I could keep thinking is there's some really interesting characters and dynamics floating around in this room. But there was a lot of important things said here. One of the things that jumped out to me, obviously very front and focal, is Diana is the most loyal person to everybody in this room. She did more than anybody in this room to get me out. And it wasn't even shade, it was fact. But I'd have to ask you, it was still shady as fuck for him to say that, because he's shading Monet all the way there. But I guess I agree, but I don't feel like he was being petty, because most people shade with pettiness. I think he shaded with like truthness, like, none of y'all step.
At times the truth is petty. And that's what it was here. He's like, you know what? He might as well say, fuck all y'all. Yeah. She did a job that y'all should have been doing. Yeah. She did what Monet should have done to get me out. Or worse yet, if you really think of a mindset of Lorenzo, possibly is thinking, how did my little daughter know to do this, but my wife didn't?
100%. And I feel like
that's Lorenzo, a problem.
I feel like Lorenzo's playing poker. He is not showing all of his cards here, and he is leading. He's like, it seems like he's leading you in one direction, but actually has a different motive going forward. But that's probably going to be my biggest question tonight about that. We'll come back to it.
And also just play a little bit off of how last episode ended. When Monet walks in the room and they say, Mom, why didn't you tell us Poppy was getting out? And she act like she had something to do with it. This is clearly Lorenzo pinpointing. You had nothing to do with me getting out.
Exactly.
Like it's a chess move.
Yeah.
He put it out there just to get debate to see how she will respond to it.
But like I said, a lot of characters in this room. Zeke, comes
I'm
in
about
with
to
the
say.
basketball team. Zeke and
Mm.
Lorenzo had never met, and I don't think we've ever discussed this, but it doesn't matter. It is a factual thing. And
Hold
well,
up, can I bring up something?
yeah.
All you people, and I mean all of you,
Oh
who
boy.
went to this wiki page and said Zeke is older, then it's so much explaining that needs to happen at this point. Lorenzo has the slightest idea who this kid is.
Yeah.
So then that means, even if this was Monet's nephew, at what point in time would she have just never told him about Zeke?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
And that's why it keeps leading me down the narrative that Lorenzo knows more than what he's saying. I'm not trying to play conspiracy theory or witch hunt. I just think that's his game. He looks to be appearing to be in one position, but I think he's in a different mindset. And I think if he is the leader of the family organization, and if he is respected amongst everybody that's in there, because you're seeing people from different groups and whatnot, I think he has to be built that way. He can't be a one-trick pony. Otherwise, what makes him any better than Kane? Kane is feared and revered in the streets, and that's good enough. As Lorenzo said, if that's what all he wants, then he'll be happy in doing that. So he recognizes having that mindset is not just good enough.
He broke down all of his kids.
Oh, and that is super important, which I think we'll get to at some point. I have to ask the second biggest question of all time. How the hell is little Guap still floating around?
That's not the question I thought you were going to ask, but that's a good question to ask there.
What further more proof do we need of liability? And my man, I cannot believe. And then Lorenzo, getting all these names confused. And then Kane is no better, because Kane goes up to his dad and say, "Yeah, can he get you for the IG?" Bro,
after everything you went through with this dude, just look, I think it's helping to pinpoint to us just how much Kane is not a person who should ever be in a leadership position
at all.
That is highly important, because that was an absolutely no sense type of question to ask.
Zero.
Like, are you crazy?
He has so many reasons why that should not have.
We literally just saw what Mecca did to this man, and yet you're still around him.
Oh my God.
We know the beef he had with your brother, and you're still around him.
So confused about that. So confused.
No sense. Like, it made sense when you went with him when you were outcast, because you was using him for a purpose. That purpose should be over now. Yeah. He's a clear liability to anything you ever want to do, and yet and still you ask your daddy to take a picture with him for the gram.
Wow,
dude. Y'all these the new streets.
Exactly. Exactly. Now let's just break down the kids really quick.
Hold on, real quick before we get into it. I thought you was going to ask me about how disrespectful it was for him to tell Monet to get the chicken. Oh, that's.
Can I tell you how? I have to tell you how difficult this episode must be for them to write, because they were literally first. Monet says we're way past those old times where women couldn't run the streets and couldn't have position, and then Lorenzo's like, yeah, that's true, but also go get that chicken.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that was one of the most disrespectful scenes. Diana, who's the daughter, was like, "I'll go get it." You're like, "No, your mama could get it."
Hey, and then the way they filmed her with it, I was like, "Oh no!" Hey, they treated Mary Jane like she was just anybody on that, man. That had been a tough scene to film, man. I cannot imagine her ego saying, "Yeah, I'll do it." That must have been an outtake, and they must have just chopped it in or something like that. Oh, they must have did that first.
Acting. For anybody who thinks Mary Jane cannot act, just look at her face in those scenes. She is utterly disgusted that he would do some shit like that.
She was this close from dropping a new album on that. Which on that, she just dropped the song I meant to bring up before, but yeah, she might.
Don't worry about it. She needs to focus on power. No more music, man.
She was this close from dropping a 90s R&B album off that scene.
Hey, my life part 3 was about to come out.
Real talk. But yeah, bringing down the kids real quick. So this is from order of Lorenzo. He said Drew's going to be running the city. Everyone's noticing that he's playing Drew real close. And he wants to pass everything down to Drew because he feels like Drew is the best of both. Diana's going to be in the classroom, and Kane is happy with respect. So the whole house dynamic is totally different now. Oh, and shall I add that he said, "Oh, Monet, you can just retire. You already put in your 10 years. You're good to go. Go shopping."
He basically said what we've seen in every old mobster movie: hand her the money, go buy yourself something nice.
Yeah.
Like that is, again, it's a level of disrespect that he's throwing her way, and we can't just think. And the key part is the audience, don't just think he's just doing that because he's thinking of the way things used to be. I don't think I believe he's too intelligent of a person to make that type of move for that reason. Right. I think he's trying to put her back in place of understanding, like, I'm the lead of this family. I need you, even though you led all of this way. It's like, you did that because I wasn't here. Yeah. I'm back now. Yeah. I need you to play your position, and I need to see how you respond to me attempting to force you to play your position.
Yeah, for sure. Really quickly before we move on from this scene, two things to add. We got introduced to another group, the BSK, the Broad Street Killers, ran by Kino, who seems to, Kane's not the only person that's not happy about Drew being next in line. He seemed to also feel in some type of way about that. I think setting that up, and who knows where this goes, but I think it was important to establish that whole complex mentality like Kane has is a very typical thing, which is why Lorenzo's so familiar with this, because they're a dime a dozen. So he knows how to put them all in order. So I don't necessarily see them as a threat, which we'll talk about more with this later, because there's some stuff with Drew. But it is important that another group is out there, because that's when you have to start marking territories and blocks and stuff like that, especially since they're trying to move from off the campus back to the old school style of slinging on the corner and whatnot. So there's that. But the question really quickly here is, do you feel Drew is the rightful heir to the order?
Yeah, we talked about it in the first season.
Definitely.
It was kind of obvious then that no, the smart choice is Drew.
Definitely.
Like, even though we flipped and thought it could be Diana, we've never thought it was Kane at all. He was spot on with Kane. He is just the muscle.
We wrote that line.
Yes. But with Drew, it does make a lot of sense. And for even Lorenzo to point out, like, I know who he is. When Monet was like, he has a soft spot, I know who he is.
I'm so glad they did that way, because I don't think there needed to be a
whole all of that. And it's the best thing you could possibly do. Take away that whole, I can't believe he's gay. He's like, no, I know who he is.
Yeah.
And he, as far as almost saying, that's not even a weakness.
Yeah, at all.
It's only a weakness because the guy don't know about the business and he's not in the business. That's the weakness, not who you choose to deal with.
Also, really quickly too, with his father being so open and available to him in his decisions, it also had turned on this different mentality where Drew was like, oh, I could be comfortable and be myself. My father accepts it, and you just start seeing things click. And the other important thing is that Lorenzo actually cared about physically and mentally what Drew went through. He is legit prepping this dude to be ready. And
hey, he said it in the bar.
Yeah,
my goal is to get you set up and leave all of this to you, but I need you to understand what a weakness is, how to exploit a weakness, and how not to have it yourself. Like, again, I always felt that Drew would be the perfect one because he has the mentality for it.
Yeah,
he's always calm. He may react with anger, and it happens. And Lorenzo checked him, like, what you did at that table wasn't a smart move. You can know how weak of a thing that is. You don't always have to say it. Sometimes save it to your advantage. And again, this is something that you want to see. And him schooling Drew is just pushing him further apart from Kane.
Yep. Right on. One other thing I wanted to say, and I'm trying to think, should I say it now or should I just wait? Diana, I'll say it now because it kind of adds to this argument. First of all, Diana with the ultimate shade with making her dad breakfast and not Monet. But I just had to just throw it out there. But that's not the thing. The thing here is, again, to the writing. It was very important to have this one line in here that debunks every bit of reasoning if Diana is possibly the person to do it, to step up. Because I think she was at one point a 1B. If Drew is 1A,
she was
she's 1B.
We thought it until this episode to me.
Yep. Yeah. And then when he said, I paid your tuition to go to St. John's, and she looked like, what? Why? And I was like, yeah, you're good. You got what you want now, right? Oh. Now we got this kind of scoop in the interview, and I was wondering how this was going to play out. But I was talking to Mary J. Blige about Monet and Diana's relationship, and she said Diana's going to get way out of line, and you're going to see Monet really test it, but also push her. And you're gonna see a lot of crazy because she's just nothing but a young, dumb girl in love. And I'm like, I'm not quite. I know she's in love with Tariq, but I didn't see that.
You're like, I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I didn't get the dumb part. But man, so if you all are not putting one and two together, when Lorenzo told her she was going and she's like, I don't want to go there. I want to go to Stansfield. It don't got nothing to do with school.
Nothing at all.
Chasing Tariq. And as a young man who went to college and at a point in high school when you wanted to make sure that the college you were going to was with your significant other, or at least somebody you may have had of your interest, this is spot on right here. This is grade A dumbness here. So now that we finally got exploited Diana for her major flaw about the balance here, there is no balance. She's looking for acceptance from her family, and she's chasing Tariq. That's it. That is her game.
Nothing else, dude.
Wow.
He said, we got a full ride to St. John's, and she said, I wanted to go to Stansfield. I'm like,
oh my God.
What? Like,
I
know the school that St. John's is. That's a great school to go to.
Yeah. Like, and that's why they made sure you knew exactly what school it was.
Yep. Because it pinpoints that it was never about Diana going to school. This entire series so far, it's been Diana pushing this narrative that Monet won't let me go to school. Monet won't let me go to school. Maybe it's because Monet know you didn't want to go to school. She knew exactly what you wanted to do.
That is
you
so
wanted
wild.
to chase after Tariq. That was your whole goal, was to get on that campus because Tariq was on that campus.
So wild, bro. I just can't believe that. That really had me shocked. But yeah, so
hold up, real quick then. And what did you think about the point that she was quick to blame Monet? Because who made that decision to send her to St. John's?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, that's a good question. I haven't even thought about that. I know she blamed Monet because I think it was an instant reaction to like, I didn't get what I want, so I'm just mad at somebody here.
But think about it though. If you're Lorenzo, right? You kind of pinpointed this too. So you picked a different school. And then miraculously, your daughter blames Monet for it. Wouldn't that make him look at her a certain way also? Like, then why are we even having this discussion? I thought you only wanted to go to school. You went to him and said, Poppy, I want to go to school. You didn't say I want to go to Stansfield. Yeah. And I assumed that he picked St. John and she blamed Monet. And then all of a sudden, again, that's another feather in his cap of him playing this game properly. Because I'm pretty sure he knew exactly where she wanted to go. But that wasn't his purpose. His purpose was to see what would her reaction be. And she gave him the reaction that he needed to see.
Wow. Can't argue that one. All right, let's just go through a bunch of things and bits that happened. Probably no really reaction to it. We go to the courtroom now. Tariq gets the white judge, who's definitely not giving him bail. And you know, Tariq pretty much plays his cards here. He needs to get out because he needs to take care of your ass and all that other stuff. Davis and Sachs kind of get into an argument about their approach with this. But like you said, that the judge says, nah, you're not getting bail. But also this is when they decided that they needed to meet with Tate because Tate is the influence and Tate could pull some cards to make him get a second trial, which in this case now he gets the right judge, who then, and I know I'm kind of skipping over this because I feel like the courtroom stuff isn't really important, but just to mention it, this is when he gets the judge that then releases him with an ankle monitor, which I think that is important, but we'll see how that comes into play. But now Saxe is very he's suspicious. He wants to know what he has on Tate. Now, to me, this tells me that Saxe, in his pursuit of what Tariq may have on Tate, could mean that he could be influenced, but also it's just, I think, and I think this is what you were trying to say earlier. I think we're seeing the transformation of Saxe back into old Saxe here.
Yep.
He is absolutely 1,000% progressive on putting down the St. Patrick. This is why he gets the disagreement with Davis. This is his whole obsession with the St. Patricks like he had in the original Power series. And I think now he's trying to look at Tate to see what is the connection there. And then we seen the big thing at the end of the episode with Lauren, which we'll talk about when we get there. So
I will say this, because this right here was one of the best scenes of this episode and one of the best scenes in Power, because it's one of the most truest scenes in Power, when David tells Tariq, you can go, and then him and Saxe have that conversation. For a person who took a lot of political science classes, because I wanted to be a lawyer at one point, I love the point he pointed out. The first thing or the last thing you should ever do is ask your client if they're guilty, because that's none of your business. You can't do that, because it pinpointed the point that Saxe is still thinking like a prosecutor. And you can't be a defense attorney and think like a prosecutor. So there's no way he should have ever asked Tariq any of these questions. He shouldn't even have an opinion of Tariq's guilt.
Yeah.
And he still does. So it kind of makes David look at Saxe a certain way. Because while you can be an asset, because you can give me all of this information, I clearly now see that you can also be a liability if your feelings get too involved in it.
Bingo.
And that was the key part there. Because again, for someone who knows the law and knows it well, that's the first thing I questioned when he was talking to Tariq. And like, why are you even asking him if he killed somebody?
Yeah.
Because you never see David ask that question. You never see David ask anybody if they're guilty about anything, because he knows better. The moment you say, yes, I did it, I can't put you on the stand, because then I lose my license. I can go to jail for doing that. I don't need to know if you're guilty or innocent. I could care less if you're guilty and innocent, because that's not my job. And I think it was a great scene for them to pinpoint that out between him and Saxe, because you still need to see the difference between him and Saxe.
I think another thing, when you in regards to Saxe and feelings, it also just tells you how obsessed he is with the St. Patrick's, because when you're going across, exactly. When you're across. When you're across the courtroom from somebody you're frequently sleeping with, in Jenny Sullivan here, and you don't let that become a factor in morale, but your feelings towards this family and wanting to get your guy jeopardizes it, but you're employed, getting paid damn well, and that becomes $2 million. That this tells you this is night and day difference here. But that's that. Tasha's in New Mexico, folks, because I guess she need to be relocated, but why?
Yeah, because what would have happened for her to be relocated?
I know
they don't just relocate you for no reason.
Yeah,
I'm wondering what is this setting up, because that's a weird thing to just magically bring up.
Yeah, I know. Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. on Channel 5, we're getting some insight here. But
I thought she was relocated to LA. I'm confused here.
Yeah, something happening. I know the group is no more and all that, but it's wild, man. Who knows?
Still making those promises.
It's funny that Courtney Kip makes Queen jokes too, so I love it. So anyway, going down the list of other things that happen, and this is Monet and Diana have the conversation about Lorenzo getting out and all of that and stealing the money. But this is when Monet grabs Diana by the throat and orders her to get out the house. And this is one of those scenes where it was important, but it was also kind of realistic because Diana has been feeling herself. She's like, I did all this. I'm bringing the family all together. And she feels like she's moving up in a hierarchy here. And she's overstepping her mother, which I don't agree with. This is one of the cases where the kid says, I'm grown. And then the parent says, oh, you grown, huh?
Exactly. Hey, when she grabbed her by her throat, I said, yep, that makes perfectly good sense.
Yeah.
And it happened right the moment when she was like, well, why ain't you happy he out? That's it. That's it. Because for a quick second, you forgot who the fuck you was talking to.
Yeah.
And Monet was like, nope, let me put you back in place again. Yeah. But again, it also shows on the other end of the feeling of Monet of her losing the grip of the family.
All right, even more so, because like episode 5 definitely was the realization, but now the changes in the personalities are coming to
you even felt comfortable enough to say that to her. Yeah, when you've been living a fear of her for 10 years. That's a hell of a pill to swallow there.
Yeah.
So I gotta choke you. I gotta put you back in your place.
Yeah, that's true. Kanan makes an appearance because he is Tariq self-conscious, and he said a lot of different things about looking at the board. Now, there's a lot of references here to season 1 of Power Book 2 Ghost in terms of chess, pieces, moves, and looking at and that's how you play chess. You make a move and sort of in perspective of wondering what the next move or counter move may be.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of references to that, which this was the whole symbolic of imagery of the promotion of Power Book 2 season 1 of who was what pieces. So a lot of references towards that. But yeah, that's where Kanan Kanzan tells Tariq to kind of look at the whole board.
Quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
To you and the audience, a very quick question. How interesting do you all find it that Kanan is the voice of reason for him?
So I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to cheat by watching the Courtney Kit live stream. And I believe somebody asked this. And not only that, and I also believe she might have even answered this to you during the interview. Tariq is a build of his father, his mother, Tommy, and
Kanan. Yeah.
And Kanan. So he can pull from any one of these self-consciousness at some point, I think. So I don't necessarily think that Kanan is like oh my God, why him? I think it's just this is the shoes that fit him.
I'm saying that because the person on this series, and I mean in this universe, who moved the pieces around the board the best was his father. If it's someone who would be that voice that tells you, why are you looking at this? Shouldn't you be looking at this? Shouldn't you be looking at this person, not this person? Because that just it threw me off a little bit the moment I saw it was Kanan, because Kanan wasn't necessarily known as the chessboard person. That was always his dad. His dad was definitely the ultimate person at moving pieces around the board to get what he needed to have done. Now I understood with his personal feelings for his dad after that letter. Well, maybe that's why they said, no, there has to be someone else for right now with Tariq. But even his mom was great at knowing about it. We know that from everything that happened with the setup. I just found it interesting that Kanan would be that person. I would expect Kanan when the first time he showed up with Tariq. For that one, that made perfectly good sense. This one just didn't fully make the sense I thought it would.
I think because of how this episode how the events of the episode played out, because obviously he has resentment towards his father. But I also think after that conversation he has with Effie later on in the episode about, oh, my father knew all this and all this other stuff, and then she basically said, well, maybe he doesn't. And I think he kind of like made peace with the note that was left to him. And I think we'll start to realize that he's more like him than he thinks he's not. Thus backing your justification as to why it wasn't him. So I think we will see that. And I think either way, he feel more comfortable with Kanan. But Kanan did drop some truth about, the relationship, about the closest person to you and whatnot.
But also keep in mind, I'm only talking about it in that moment.
Right.
Because later on in the episode, with that whole reveal, with the letter, with him burning the letter and the conversation with Effie, then it makes perfectly good sense.
Yes.
But in that moment, you're like, why would it be Kanan?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right with you on that. So this is now where Lauren goes to confront Carrie Milgram and asks, why was Tariq arrested? Carrie is just flat out malicious with it. He's a cold-blooded murderer and tells Lauren that she's going to be called in for key evidence on the wire. What? Big question marks. There's nothing to even talk about here because it does come back up later. But like Carrie out here is more obsessed with Tariq than Sax is with James St. Patrick. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying.
Taken the place of Jabari. So we killed Jabari off, and did he take over the body of Carrie?
Facts.
No, I'm not done with Tariq yet.
Facts, bro.
My God. She just for someone who's supposed to be a former law enforcement, a prosecutor. I think she was supposed to be a prosecutor.
Yeah.
She just fuck the evidence. He's guilty.
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. That doesn't even make sense to think that. But again,
you're right.
It made more sense when Tariq revealed later, like, oh, she fucking Zeke. That's why it needs to be me. Because it has to be someone else.
Yep. It's just wow. The classroom scene in general have always been really good scenes throughout each episode, and this one was even more tense. I really do like the Tate versus Carrie back and forth that was kind of going on. I mean, she's just exploiting herself at this point. And I also can't wait till Lauren actually makes this a known thing on campus.
What'd she say? It's coming out.
Yeah.
So ain't no more hiding. I found it even interesting the students' conversation about Tariq's guilt or innocence.
Yeah.
The point that I'm trying to say this in the nicest way possible. The black woman saw a perp walk and immediately Tariq was guilty. It was no other way she can see it. And yet someone else of a different ethnicity sees it and he's like, no, it's innocent until proven guilty. Like, I think that was a very interesting thing to even write that way and to bring that up, because it's unfortunately it's the way and the stigmatism that goes along with us as black folks, that the moment we see something like that at times, that person's guilty no matter what. We don't even care about the innocent part.
Yeah, and even the white student was like, I wonder if he gets back on campus. I mean, everybody, I believe, was optimistic, not even in the sense of friendship, but in the sense of just law. Except for Carrie, the only one that didn't have common sense in it, which I think is great because we need to build this obsession all the way up to a T that is so obvious that I hope everybody watching understands that Carrie is off the rails here. Now, I'm going to keep bringing this up until it happens. I want y'all to pay close attention, as Lucas said about Carrie's past, how they're keeping Carrie and Jenny far from each other. Far. Not even a mention. They haven't had a scene together. They are keeping them far, and it is for a reason. I don't know what it is yet. It's got to be something in the past, but they are keeping them away. And Kevin probably knows something about this as well too. But there is something in the water with this.
Keep in mind, the more and more Carrie is pushing for it to be Tariq, you still have Kevin like, no, I don't believe that at all. If Tariq's involved, he's involved because Zeke's involved in this somehow. Like, he is not done with Carrie and Zeke. And by it does show both of them being obsessive about Carrie being obsessive about proving Zeke's innocence, and Kevin being very obsessive about proving Zeke's guilt. That all of a sudden is now thrown all on Tariq from also someone who's obsessed with him and his position in his family. Again, it's amazing the way it works with power and how it's just swaying from one person to the next person, and sometimes it's swaying on people we wouldn't even expect it to be. Who the hell would have thought in the second season you would expect Carrie to have this much power?
Not even in the first two episodes I think anybody would have guessed this.
Like,
of this season.
She of his own just being as disrespectful to Lauren as humanly possible.
She looks obsessed, like like a demonic presence. Like, I'm going to get this little boy. My name is Toby, and I'm gonna make like 10 paranormal activities, and y'all gonna like this shit.
Exactly.
Really quickly, talking about the duality here now. Now, this is when Monet goes to see Lorenzo. Dante, and then Lorenzo calls and let her know about Tariq and whatnot. That's not the important thing. The duality here is that, do y'all remember last episode? I think it was last episode or the episode before last, when Dante gave her the ultimate out. Here's some money for the kids. Let's pack up and leave. Here's your retirement. Let's roll out. And you also notice how in this episode now she has another option of retirement, and that is get that chicken. Go shopping.
Well, no, the difference is Mecca, Daniel was giving her an option, an escape. Like, you don't have to live this way if you don't want to. And I'm here to give you everything so you don't. Versus Lorenzo, who's like, no, this is what you're doing. Because this is not for you at all. It's a different approach by both of them. And it comes along in all eventually they're gonna have to show us that Lorenzo and her actually loved each other at one point in time. Because it's not coming across that way right now.
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's he's in love with her. I think it's purposefully being done that way. Because you need to picture Lorenzo a certain way.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of the moves that he's making.
You also need to be able to allow Monet to flip at any given point, and it becomes believable. You have the curiosity of which one does she like more. So the moment you see one and you're more convinced about it, then you don't give the other one a chance here. Yep. I mean, it's like no one gave Ghost and Tasha a chance once they seen how much he loved Angela. Yep. And it just no one liked Tasha for like the last 3 seasons because of this.
Like Tasha was the bad person.
So exactly. But Mecca does want to see his son. And Monet tentatively was going to set it up, but we'll see. Now, talk about Tariq and Lorenzo knowing that. Lorenzo flat out said, look, I know everything that happened. Tariq ain't do it. Y'all set him up. Bada bing. It was not a smart move. I think you wrote that line too, because you said that as well. And it's very obvious that it wasn't. And in case you wasn't sure, was it a smart move or not to eliminate Tariq for whatever reason, all personal feelings aside, it just wasn't a smart move because, as we had said, it's eventually all going to come back to you.
How could it not? It's the dumbest decision to possibly make. And we all knew it, and I'm happy Lorenzo pointed it out. The moment he said, it's not a smart move, Mo. Like, it's going to all come back to you. Yeah. And for her to then go to Kane, like, Nick, do you not understand? You set him up. What's stopping him from snitching on you? Like, nothing is stopping him from doing that. This is why you don't set up people that know too much. You either get rid of them or you make friends with them. It's gonna be one or the other.
Flat out ridiculous. But because of all of this makes Monet go to see Davis McClain, and he runs up another bill, $500K, and I keep you on the inside about everything that may potentially coming to your family. And obviously, the other predicament is something that I said last week about, well, you can't make money if course correct isn't going. So that puts them at limbo now because they need course correct in order to bring in the money here because they're going a more digital cryptocurrency way. And the whole block thing is kind of not a thing right now.
Lorenzo said, nah, we're going back to Queens. This nigga, we back to selling dimes and nicks. We ain't... We ain't doing that course correct stuff anymore.
Hey, I wish they would have showed all his old clothes. I wish they had like another 2 minutes to show every clothes that was in the box. I feel like I seen like an old school San Diego Chargers jersey, and I was like, yo,
I thought that was a New York Giants jersey. I wouldn't show. I knew it was a football jersey though. I said, no.
I wanted to see it so bad.
So this nigga was locked up doing change clothes. That's what it
was. Yeah, like you said, Davis is running up money left and right. $2 million from Tariq, $500K from Monet. This dude is living good.
Already got the 250 from Diana.
He's
living good. Offer him at this point. These 3 clients are gonna fund him forever.
Forever. But also, this is where Davis and Sachs come to the agreement that you're not going to make Tariq confess. I mean, it was a scene for whatever reason, and that's just that. One of those common sense things, like, definitely shouldn't be doing that.
It was just there to pinpoint the person that Sachs is.
Yeah.
It's to pinpoint the difference because he still has to let go of the former Sachs. We let him go. Now he's clearly going to kill somebody. Yeah. And You know what? And if he does kill somebody, you know what that means? Another $2 million our way. Like, I can care less about that.
Exactly.
Again, it just shows the difference between a defense attorney and a prosecutor. A defense attorney could care less what you do.
Yeah.
At all. That is not my issue.
Yeah.
My issue is, did the check clear?
Exactly.
Great. I'm here for you.
Same mindset the entire season. Yep. Did the check clear? Yeah. I am going to start bunching some of the scenes together because I realized, like, especially like one of the scenes where like Monet wants to set up the meeting between Zeke and Mecca went from yay to nay. So like instead of just kind of going back and forth by them, I'm just going to start bunching stuff like that together. Just like this scene where Lorenzo is ready to meet the Connect. That's the real gift that he wanted out of jail. And he said that him and Drew are ready. But as we know, Mecca is not interested initially. But somewhere down the line, after he got his rejection letter from Monet and how Monet seen her family happy, so she had to change her heart. She's like, oh, we can't see each other no more, blah, 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 blah. And you're not going to meet your son.
All over beats on the table. That's all
exactly. It took. That's all it was. That's all it took. And so now they can't, now he can't meet, Mecca can't meet his son, but now Mecca's interested in meeting Lorenzo, which makes things very interesting. I think that's the scene everybody wants to see play out. The two love interests coming together. But beyond that, there's a lot more to play on that because a few name drops and everything gets messy. Also, Kane is going to be there and is also going to be, well, what are you going to do, stupid? Because it's very probable that he will do or say something stupid. I'll probably put a few dollars down that somehow, some way, little Guap will be there.
If little, I don't think he feels safe bringing little Guap around Mecca anymore. But again, it makes it so much more interesting when they meet the point of Lorenzo's reaction to Zeke. The point that they've never really met. Yeah, that plays a huge point of him meeting Mecca now, because then we got to find the connective tissue that will put 2 and 2 together, and it's not there because clearly he's also not bringing Monet in anything. Because Lorenzo's made it perfectly clear she's not involved in the business. So at this point with Mecca, he's like, okay, then I need to see this person because I need to see the person I need to get rid of. Yeah, because not only are you can stand, I think Mecca might be at a point of saying, you may be able to stand in the way of me being with Monet. Fine. But you're standing in the way of me having a relationship with my son. That's what I'm not fine with.
Yeah. Yeah. Really quickly, jumping the gun a little bit here. Who do you think Effie's connect here? So this is the big theory I'm seeing all on the Facebook groups and whatnot. She did mention to Tariq that her connect stopped answering the phone. Could it be Mecca because he's now working with Kane, so he doesn't need Effie anymore? Could it be somebody that was in the G2G but they got killed and there's that? Or could it have been his cousin that just got killed by the chef
for moving product? Well, she also said that his product wasn't as good as your connects is. Okay. So just think about who has had weak product. Or maybe it is a throwaway. Could be a throwaway. Just to
could be. Could never amount to anything. So I'll just throw it to the audience. I want to know your theories. Who you think Effie's connect is? Somebody important, somebody we've already met, or just nobody?
Don't y'all dare bring up anybody that Ghost killed in Power as her connect. Don't you say, was it Jason? Am I saying his name right?
Yes.
I better not hear Jason.
Lobo? Lobos? Tommy. It's Tommy. It was Tommy the entire time. That's who it was. Yeah. But now we're seeing the divide in the the family with Kane and Monet together, Lorenzo and Drew together. This is pretty much Stansfield versus the Block situation that they got going on here. But we'll see how that all plays.
Which one makes more money?
Which side would Diana be on here? Is the other thing.
Where's Tariq?
That's why she's not in any of these conversations.
Exactly. Where's Tariq? Because that's what she's going with.
I love how when Tate went to see Tariq in jail, that he said the same line that Ghost said. Why do you think? What do you think the significance of that is? I knew you would be here. What is up with that?
It's a mindset. And I'm thinking that's the way they're playing it. Like Tate for the whole time, we noticed for a while that Tate and Ghost did have the same mindset. Like they really both did. And both of them amazingly had a lot of influence over people and knew how to wield their influence. So for him to step in that room and bring up and say, I knew you would end up here, little nigga.
That's wild.
It also pinpoints that maybe both of them just underestimate who Tariq is.
Could be. I mean, think about the power when Tariq was brought into some of those political socials and whatnot. Tate was pretty high on Tariq.
Yeah,
he was recommending him into for certain things and whatnot, but he was pretty high on his IQ and his potential. And maybe that's where it is, because he probably seen him like a son as well too, and that mindset was very easy to relate to him. So could have been something like that. Who knows? Could be something deeper, but I ain't even about to get on that because we got to wrap up the episode.
Yeah. But 50 minutes explaining influence and all that. Nah, we're not doing that. Not tonight.
Yeah, but this is where they make the deal and whatnot. Tate still wants Sweetney's frat book, not a problem. Brayden knows where it's at, so we'll see how that come into play. But I don't think it's going to play into this season. I think it goes right into influence, and I'm thinking we see influence next November. That's what I'm thinking.
I think
this November. What am I saying? 2022, baby.
Nah, I think it's going to be before then.
October, November.
Yeah,
somewhere maybe
September-ish.
Could be. But they could. Yeah, they love that September date.
But
so yeah,
but I do believe we're going to see him get the book, but we're just not going. I think we're going to see the beginning of him playing the card in this episode, in this season. But just not the full ramifications of him playing that card. But again, that also leads to, well, I'm gonna see if you were gonna lead to it, because it leads into the best scene of the episode. Yeah, or it stems from the best scene of the episode of Brayden getting the book in that conversation between him and Tariq.
Yeah, we're coming up on an hour mark, so I'm gonna start truncating some things real quick. Now, this is the conversation with Lauren and Tariq. Finally, once Tariq gets out back on campus, runs into Lauren. The couple that everybody was rooting for, they have a breakup. Lauren didn't come to court. Lauren doesn't know why she can't trust Tariq, and I absolutely agree with Tariq. I don't know why you can't trust me, because literally now you know everything, and I don't know why you feel torn. But this did spark a bit of aggression under Lauren to go see Carrie and figure out the truth, because after Tariq told her that Carrie was smashing Zeke, and that was her agenda in order to protect him, is why she went after Tariq. So that's that. But also, Tariq said, I'm sorry, Lauren asked for her keys to the apartment back. Tariq said he will after he go grabs his stuff. I will note, folks, that the closing scene of this episode is Tariq in Lauren's apartment with Effie. Savage. And I'm coming back to Effie, but that is a savage move by Tariq there, sir. You did not bring another girl to your girl place.
No, that's my place. I signed the lease.
It's on the court record, so
it's on court record. It's on. I can come in with my ankle monitor on.
Yeah,
it's my place. It's my house.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, that's that. The other thing, as I said, I'm gonna go rush through some of these things. Lorenzo gets now aware of Monet's exit plan that didn't have anything to do with him. But to this is where Drew really steps up. This is an important scene for Drew, because Drew criticizes both parents. And Lorenzo actually considers it and realizes that, you know what, you're right. And then he starts to reconsider Drew's position about Kino, the leader of the other group, earlier. So it is interesting the type of trust, consideration, and position and statue that is being built with Drew.
I was waiting for you to use the word, and you're just not using that word. Go ahead, use it.
What word?
It's amazing the amount of influence Drew has.
I know. No, only take is influencer. You know better than that. But it is important that is the thing. So I am looking forward to seeing what happens to Drew the next few episodes. But
yes,
as you said, people are showing their true colors, and most of the time when people say that, that's actually like a sense of like reveal, sort of in a negative kind of sense of like you were being fake. I think we're just seeing Drew really become into his own and showing who we thought he was the entire time. A setback of him being shot and never having to deal with that, not actually having the proper counseling and parental guidance from it. Then his father gets out, gets him on the right track, and we're seeing even the cinematography around Drew now is starting to show a more stern side of him, where he already told his boyfriend family business. That is.
Yeah, but I think that's also, we're also seeing that as a possible weakness, because he typed on family business, but his reaction to doing that wasn't just like, all right, time to move on. It hurt him to say that, because that's not like, in all honesty, Drew knows how to run a business, but it's not something Drew wants to do.
Yeah.
But if I got to step up for the family, that's one thing. Drew's 100% loyal. If I got to step up for the family, I'm stepping up, but it's not something he wants to do.
Yeah. And I will say too, like, also Carrie's showing her true colors, because now she's just doing whatever she can to protect Zeke, and she's manipulating Lauren, and she's being straight up about it. So again, a lot of reveal people's true colors.
Just wait for her to plant evidence on somebody. On Tariq. She's going to.
Now, one of the most important conversations in this episode is Tariq and Brayden. Tariq gets out, go see Brayden. Brayden is A1. And what's really important about this conversation to me is that they both needed this conversation. There was a lot of things being held on that they had never discussed, a lot of animosity probably at points, a lot of just whatever. But they got it out. They squashed the beef. The boys are back together. The band is back together. And then they start to strategize about what to do with the Tejadas here. Effie is part of the triangle here, because as I was going to just put on towards the last part of of this really quickly, Effie came in after the whole Lauren thing, and Effie came in, stepped up, and really gave Tariq that type of comfort and decompression, should I say, in the sense of everything that's happening with him, because she understood this is a lot of the argument that people made about Effie, in saying that Effie is the right one for him, because Effie can relate to him like no other. And she came in, she asked the right questions, she gave the right advice, got a little bit of kissing. She also is a little what's the word here? You back me up with whatever the word is, but let's not forget that Effie did just tell Diana last week, stay away from Tariq. And here she is on Tariq. So interesting that she is being whatever the word is, I'm trying to think here. But the more important thing is that Brayden comes clean about the whole thing with the Tejadas. Tariq comes clean about everything with the G2G murder, a 2-Bit reference. Everybody's like, where's 2-Bit? Where's 2-Bit? He got a reference there, folks. You're happy. And then, started talking about protecting themselves, but nonetheless, they started to talk about how they had to work together. This is why Brayden went to go get the picture, the photo album for Tate and whatnot. So a lot of things that had needed to been said between the two had been said, and there's no secrets behind them. So
yes, there is. He literally basically told him that Kane killed Jabari.
So questioning.
No, and let me tell you this. The reason is we have to put way more emphasis on that scene with Tariq and Kane. When Kane says always the ones closest to that hurt you, and then bring up the point that Effie said you need Brayden. I don't think he trusts Brayden anymore at all. I think he's using him. He understands the position that this kid is going to end up having to play for him. I don't think it's trust. I don't think they're cool anymore. I think Brayden is. I think Tariq at this point is like, nope, you're a pawn, and I'm going to use you that way. And if I got to act like we cool to get the things out of you that I need to get out of you, I will do that. But I do not trust you in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I think that relationship they had is dead. They will never be that close again. And I think at this point, Tariq understands that I need to use people. And if I got to use you to reach my goal, I'll use you to reach my goal.
Becoming like his dad here. First time I'm going to say it.
Exactly. That's what I got out of that scene. The moment they got back together, it's like, oh, that's Ghost.
Yeah.
He is using him. I don't think trust is there at all. And to me, it brought it up the moment he asked him about Jabari, and he didn't tell him the truth. He's like, no, I'm gonna come up with a nice story because I can't tell you the truth. And that's it. I don't trust you.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, because he told Effie the truth. That's right. Because Effie, and
Mm.
then Effie's like, I don't need to know, but he
What
essentially,
what she said? The old street Joe. Some things don't need to be said.
yeah,
I understand.
yeah.
And yet, and still, he still told her and
What
lied
ain't
to
said is
Brayden.
understood.
Yeah, and then lied to Brayden about it
Yeah.
because he don't trust him, but he understands. I need him.
And I'm gonna throw it to the audience real quick. Let me know. Do you think the whole Brayden and Tariq thing is done? Are they just business associates now, or are they back being A1? I mean, I really always fuck with Brayden, and I think that Brayden always has Tariq at best interest, even though he made a couple of stupid mistakes. But that's kind of on par with who he is, especially when he has a girl around. He does it. But the question is, does Tariq reciprocate the same feelings back? And that's to be determined.
Well, Tariq told us. I want you to, again, it's all about that conversation he had with Effie also. What did he say? He said, I don't think he did it on purpose, but that's worse to me.
Yeah.
That he was naive enough to fall for that. Dude, if that did not sound, I think for everyone who's been waiting for him to show some remnants of his dad, that was a very James St. Patrick line to say.
Yeah.
You didn't do it on purpose, but the point that you were naive enough to fall for it, to me, it's worse that you were naive enough to fall for that.
Yeah.
And again, that to me, that pinpointed exactly where Tariq sees Brayden in his life.
Yeah. All right, now I'm gonna wrap up with all the rest of the episode now. So again, like I said, Tariq discusses the new order, how everything's gonna be with Brayden and Effie. Effie is now officially part of the crew. She will be doing the re-ups and transportation. Brayden will be doing a cover of the meetings and we'll handle the apps and all the tutor stuff. And they're gonna stop all the stuff on Stansfield right now because it's too hot. But then this is when Tariq texts Monet. Monet meets Effie. I think they saw. I don't even know what to say. I'm not even going to even go down the rabbit hole in this one. But like, there is to me, there's a bit of understanding between you. I mean, they asked the right questions. You understand it? Effie held her own. Effie holds her own down. We all know that. But like I said, Monet, asks about the trust between everybody and whatnot. Everybody realizes that money is the most important thing here, so that just bypasses all this conversation that we don't need to have because they didn't need to have it.
Yes.
But like you said, Monet has Effie phone number, so call her whenever she's ready to do business. And obviously Tariq can't go nowhere because of his ankle monitor. A couple of things to bring up really quickly on this. I forgot to mention the whole thing when Monet left to go see Lorenzo. Left to go see Mecca when she said she was going to get cheesecake. I like the whole cheesecake being the key word for Mecca over and over and over. But I think the other thing here is that we gotta talk about the very last scene with Sax and all that now. But yeah, I think here now, now that Kane, now that Mecca wants to meet Lorenzo, you got this whole thing with Kane versus Lorenzo going on here, and proving that Drew is the right person because of the conversation that they had. Drew, as we talked about earlier, Kane just exploited himself that he's not the one because he started saying, like I said, the duality here between do you want to be my boss or do you want to be my son? Much like in the last episode of being soldier and son with Monet. But I mean, this is just more or less why it just proved that Kane isn't ready, because Kane thinks he's ready to step up in his role and he's not. And he already said that the whole liability of not meeting the connect is going to fall back on you, and then you're going to end up coming back. It's right on par for Kane.
Well, there you go.
Understand.
Kane and Diana have the same weakness.
Yeah, exactly.
Tariq.
Exactly.
They have the same weakness.
Exactly. But is there anything else I need to mention real quick before we go to the last scene? There was one other thing I feel like I was like I said, I really did like Effie putting Tariq head back onto focus and getting everything back in order. Now they got the whole organization set. But yes, the last scene with Sax here, Sax going to Jenny's office, and Jenny and Lauren are arguing. And then Sax, instead of trying to have their sexual agreement for the night, Sax says he has business to take care of. what's important here is that Sax doesn't know who Lauren is. He also didn't know that Lauren was the one who pretty much was the reason that Tariq was given up and became the prime suspect here. So at this point now, Sax has information that he can either go back to Davis McLean with or hide and become more on par with Jenny here. So Sax right now becomes a complete wild card to his own detriment here, because at the end of the day,
either way, it's not going to work. It's going to burn him either way.
Exactly. Because everything with Lauren right now is not going to float in court. I doubt she even gets up there, and if she does, she'll be a liability to Jenny and him anyway. So,
and we're still waiting for that book reveal to come out.
Exactly,
because Tariq brought it up.
Yeah, and it is important that Tariq did not. That's what I kept trying to say. Just something I forgot to say. Tariq didn't mention to Brayden that, well, the book, he asked him for help with it. He didn't say he wrote it, which you just realize that changes a lot here. The idea that this is Tariq's work. So we will see. But now at the closing scene, Mecca is just looking off towards his son playing ball. One of those old school, one of those. That's my boy. But now he wants to meet Lorenzo, so we're going to see how this all plays out and what happens with Kane. That's going to be stuck in the middle here. So, folks,
how is Zeke a first round pick, right? This big prospect.
Just
go to a random ass park.
It's New York.
No one's running up to him.
It's New York. You know how it is. It's going down in the Rucker.
Yeah, and everybody would be there watching him shoot.
Exactly. Not just his dad wishing his son was a star, but he actually is supposed to be a star. So there's that.
His dad not giving a fuck about basketball. He that's not a plan.
He's trying to blow up Monet's whole situation by meeting his dad. I mean, in a sense, Mecca got a claim to all of this in justification, and it not actually be petty. It's just what should happen. So
it's my kid.
It just happens to not be convenient for Monet. So
nothing's convenient for Monet in this episode.
Now
get the chicken.
Get the chicken. Folks, let us know your thoughts about episode 6 tonight. By all means, give us a like on this video. Definitely jump in the comments. Let us know your thoughts about the episode. As I said, if you haven't already subscribe and be around for more reviews coming from the Power Universe. Once we're done Power Book 2, you already know we're back for Power Book 4, Force, which we got some things coming in a few weeks. So you heard it here first. So definitely you want to make sure you subscribe. So once that content drop, you are in the know. You can check it out and be a part of it. But yeah, definitely let us know some of your favorite parts about tonight's episode, some of the things you like, some of the things you didn't like, some of the things you got questions about, some of the theories that you may have. Give us to us all. But as always, be safe. Happy New Year. And we'll see you around each and every week for more reviews from Power. Thank you for tuning in, folks. Big old bell.